How's it going, everybody? We are live. This is Coach Dan with Grn Mchn Multisports, and we have
Coach Rob here.
How's everybody doing? We're glad that everybody could pop in with us tonight. We've got a good show planned for you. It's kind of kicking this thing off. We're really excited about it. A good way to connect with our audience out there and share some information with you. We know a lot of people are heading into their off season, and we want to make sure we've got some good tips and tricks in place that we use with some of our athletes to make sure that you can have the best chance at having a productive season next year. So that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. We're going to take a look at chat really quick, and let's see, I'm going to pull up a banner right here. It says, what part of the world are you tuning in from today? We've got 4 people hanging out with us right now. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from. We'd like to get to meet our audience out here. We got some of my fishing buddies in there watching. What's going on, Ryan Bortz? Ryan Bortz is not necessarily an endurance athlete, but he's here to support us. He says, if I start running after watching this, we are not friends anymore. We've got Courtney here. She says, excited to see what we have planned for tonight. How you doing, Courtney?
Good.
She's in the basement. She's being goofy. She wants to be part of the show. We have, let's see, Circle Hook Productions. That's another one of my fishing buddies. Also, one of our guests for next week, Thursday. So stay tight. Clint's got an interesting story. You're going to be really excited to hear about that. And let's see. Here's one of our athletes, Margaret. What's going on, Margaret? Thanks for joining us tonight. We got 5 people in here. If everybody could do us a favor and share us out on all your social media platforms, we want to get as many people in here and hanging out with us as possible. We'd really appreciate that. Also, when you stop in, hit that thumbs up button. That tells YouTube that people are here and watching and interested in what we're talking about tonight. So again, tell us what part of the country you're hanging out from tonight. I know we've got some people from a couple different states represented already. We've got, where are you from, Rob? Where are you hanging out from tonight?
Hanging out in Buffalo, New York right now.
How's the weather up there? Go Bills. That's right. I had a Bills mug, but it disappeared. They've been a lot of fun to watch this year. I'm down in Richmond, Virginia. I grew up in the Buffalo, New York area, but I just couldn't take those cold winters anymore. We've got Circle Hook Productions hanging out in Houston. Clint's been all over the world. He's got a really interesting story. You'll hear more about that next week when he comes on for an interview. So we'll do all kinds of things on this channel, from sharing topics with you, answering questions, bringing on exciting guests, talking to other coaching companies out there. We do run a coaching company, and we provide services for all types of endurance sports, swimming, biking, running, mostly focused on triathlon. Clint's going to say, I don't talk football after that last game against the Texans. That's right. We beat up on those Texans pretty bad. That was a fun one. That's his team that he watches. Let's see. We've got Margaret in here, Richmond, Virginia. She's down here with me. Awesome. We got 7 people hanging out with us. What are we talking about tonight, Rob?
Talking about off-season, something a lot of athletes struggle to actually grasp the concept on.
That's right.
When I first started working with Grn Mchn, it was a little shock to my system to find out that you recommended taking at least 2 full weeks off. And I think my first season working with you, we took a full month off.
That's right.
And it's definitely a mentality shift, but something, that winds up being beneficial in the long run when you're training for years on end.
That's right. And we've got some interesting stuff to share about that too. So let's take a look at our audience out here tonight. How do you usually spend your off season? I know we've got some of our athletes out there, so they're probably well versed on kind of the stuff that we do around here, but how do you spend your off season? What's it look like when the race season ends, the last race for the year? What's your next plan? That's kind of what we're talking about tonight. If you notice, there's a bar scrolling across the bottom of the screen that says we have subscriber only mode on tonight. So if you're just tuning in, trying to chat with us and having trouble chatting in the chat bar, we definitely want you in here and participating. But we also want to make sure that there's no people in here that are saying mean things or not actually supporting the show. And we don't want trolls in here. There's a lot of bots out there that come in and post all kinds of crazy links. So we want to keep that to a minimum. We want to keep this fun, friendly, informative, and a good time for everybody. So make sure you subscribe to that channel. Then you'll be able to participate in chat after 5 minutes go by. So if you're just waiting for that time to cook, we'll carry on with the show and kind of go from there. All right, so I know Clint is not currently training, although he has done a lot in the past. He's on a little bit of an extended break, so his off season is really off right now. Margaret's just starting to get back into some stuff. Courtney's just starting to get back into some stuff. I'm just starting to get back into some stuff. COVID's been weird for everybody, so the thing that's kind of spurring this on for us is the fact that races are coming back. Training's coming back. People are getting more excited about it again. We want to make sure we're doing this right since everybody has a chance to hit that refresh button and start fresh. Here we got a note from Circle Hook Productions. He says, as a runner, I use cycling as off-season activity to keep the legs turning over. That's absolutely true. So that's kind of what we're expecting people to say, things like that. So we actually have some definitions we kind of want to talk about tonight. Oh, here we go. Margaret says, hibernation with everybody for the past 7 years. I cried for the first 4 years, but then I just embraced the rest as a Netflix binge. That's right.
I'm right there.
As triathletes, we get tied up in this stuff. I mean, we get going and there's no stopping. People are working busy schedules. They are coming home from work, cranking out a couple hours worth of workouts, depending on what kind of race you're doing. We work with a lot of Ironman distance athletes, so they are training 10, 20, sometimes even close to 30 hours a week. So you try and cram that in on top of a full-time job, and there's not a whole lot of time to be a normal person. So that's kind of where I was over the past year. I kind of stepped back from everything and just kind of enjoyed the other parts of life. I started to fish a lot, and it's time to get back into some training and get back into shape here.
Yeah, I think Dan and I are both in the same boat. We kind of took a little break from a few years of training, and we've been trying to motivate each other to get back in shape and get things going again. It's been a little up and down, but it's been, like Dan said, really nice to focus on some other things. And where Dan and I have extended this out to, I mean, for me, I think it's been at least a year or two since I've really focused on training. But even when you're going through these microcycles of just a hibernation phase, as we like to call it, so that off season, you can sit back and be able to enjoy those things that you may have to sacrifice while you're really focusing on training.
That's absolutely right. That's kind of where I was. I know when you and I were racing really heavy into it, and a lot of people that we know, they're really deep into racing. They're not just trying to go out there and complete a race. They're out there trying to qualify for the next event or set a new personal best or win the entire race. So that mentality really drives people, and they tend to cut out a lot in their life. So it is definitely a balance. And the off season, as we like to call it, and Margaret's kind of alluded to this already with this comment right here. She says hibernation. That's actually what we call it around here. It's a really good chance to step back and just kind of focus on everything else that's going on in life, connecting with family, friends, Netflix, whatever it may be. Courtney says, I've just started swimming, not just running. So she's getting into the pool for a little bit for the first time in her life. And she has a bike. So next thing you know, she might be doing a triathlon. Who knows? And Margaret says, yay, Courtney, coming to my favorite discipline. That's right. Margaret's a big-time swimmer, swam in college. I know Rob and I swam in college. That's kind of where we first started to get to know each other, back competing against each other in New York. And we have a lot of good content to share about swimming, which I know triathletes out there are definitely interested in. Now let's share a document up here, Rob. We're not gonna go through this entire thing here, but we do want to briefly touch on it here. So right here is kind of our table of contents is what we want to focus on. That's kind of the phases of a season that we like to call things. So there's the base phase, which I believe most people start to call their off season. It's kind of like when racing isn't happening is what I think most people call their off season. When I hear the word off, I'm thinking shut it down, off, completely off. And that's what we actually call the hibernation phase, which comes at the end of a long season. So and then when you start back up training again, then you're working on your base. When you start to add some intensity into there, you start working on the build phase. As you're heading into a big race, these two kind of phases, they go together. You get some really big, it's almost like training camp, really prepare for that race. We call it the overload phase. And then something everybody's aware of, the taper phase, to get you primed and ready to go for that race. And then, of course, you've got recovery phase and hibernation phase. So a lot of people are probably somewhere in the midst of 4, 5, and 6 right now in their season. So I know we just had some really big races going on, like 70.3 World Championships, Boston Marathon, lots of exciting things going on that people are starting to focus on and target, and they actually get to race this year, which is nice. So they might be just coming off of that and doing some recovery. We always do that with our athletes. We don't recommend that people just completely shut things down after a race. We like to do at least a week or two of just kind of flushing the system, getting all that junk out. And then if you want to shut things down after that into the off season, which we call hibernation, that's the time to do it.
So I think we got the off season, and with us and our, like, a lot of people thinking more of the base phase being, you know, their off season where they're still staying active and, you know, doing some lighter work. It's that mentality shift. And, you know, sharing my own experiences, you know, I'm sure as an athlete, you hear, well, taking time off, it instantly switches to, well, I'm going to be losing fitness. And, you know, that's going to happen. And you almost want that to happen. Not to the extent where, you know, you're getting completely out of shape, but having a little bit of loss of fitness, allowing things to recover fully is going to allow you to go into your next season, you know, rested, being able to hit it harder. And, you know, from my experience, when I went through my first hibernation phase, I came back and did my first base phase and was a little bit rusty, you know, took probably 4 weeks to really get into the swing of things. But when I got into my second 4-week block, it was night or day difference from the previous season. I was hitting power, paces, everything faster than I was when I started my previous year. So it's really, I mean, taking the time to, you know, mentally prepare and know that, yes, you're going to lose fitness, but you're going to come out of this stronger than you previously did.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. And this little diagram that I pulled up here, this is part of our, we linked a document and pinned it to the top of the chat tonight. That's our little pamphlet called Grn Mchn Multisports. So you can kind of get an idea of who we are, how we operate, and some of the big things that we hold important in our relationship with athletes here. And one of the slides on that document is something called periodization. So we talked a little bit about that in that last slide where we have the base phase, the build phase, the taper phase, all that stuff in hibernation. That's kind of how your season's set up. And inside of that, we talk about training blocks, which Rob is alluding to here. Training block is kind of like a small 3 to 5 week session where you're kind of focusing on one thing. You know, if you're in the base phase, it might be, you know, developing aerobic efficiency. If you're in a build phase, it might be starting to hit some high power numbers or really work on those speed intervals on the track or some harder workouts in the pool, and just getting ready for racing when you're ready to start tapering and getting ready for races, big races. So a lot of times the build phase actually starts to happen with some of the B races, the things that aren't so important to people. It's not their A race or their main goal for the year. And we usually set these up in about 3 to 5 week increments. You can kind of see the cycle here, and that's kind of how we like to see progress throughout the year. We build 3 weeks and then take a week to recover. And at the end of that week, we like to insert a race or a test or something like that to kind of check back in on things. And it's also really important to the development process to have just a segment where we just blow things out. You have an all-out effort. You really jack that heart rate through the roof and just go as hard as you possibly can. And then it's time to recover from that and start working on your next block. So a training block would be this series of building fitness and then taking a break, allowing that fitness to soak in, and then you're prepared to actually race or do a big test. We like to think about races or tests, and the test could be something like a time trial or maybe a test set. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we use with our athletes. And if you're going to do something that challenging, you need to make sure that you are rested and ready to handle that training load, because it's like the most intense workout that you could possibly do, doing a race or anything like that. So this carries over to the overall season as well. We can't expect this progress to keep happening and just always be building forever. At some point, like Rob was saying, you got to take a step back into this hibernation phase, which is what we're talking about here today, and kind of reset everything. And you might drop down here. You might go back and revert quite a bit. But if you look, sorry, I'm on the wrong slide over here. So if you look, if you're way down over here, then the next thing you know, when you start your next season, you're not starting from the bottom floor. You're still halfway up the graph, and then you can start another progression from there. And we see this a lot with our athletes where from year to year, they start off and then they come back really fast. And then before you know it, like Rob was talking about, they're hitting new goals, and all of a sudden their goals are changing because they're a faster, stronger, more efficient athlete. We got a comment from Margaret down here. Let's check in on that. For me, races and tests give me purpose within those blocks. Absolutely. Something for me to look forward to and get that competition fix that I love. That's right. And that's one of the things that we really struggle with athletes when they first start working with us is, Rob is currently in the Buffalo, New York area. I grew up in that area, and the race season is not very long up there. We've got, I don't know, from June to about now to do racing before the weather starts to get pretty lousy. So people try and cram in as many races as they possibly can. We got 2 Stans fishing in the house. What's up? That's one of our fishing buddies. How you doing, Stan? Happy birthday yesterday, I believe. I spent the night fishing on the water, so I'm losing track of days over here. But yesterday was the birthday. Let's see. We were talking about all this stuff right here. Yep. So that's kind of important as we move along there. Where was I, Rob? I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I was distracted by a cat coming into the room. Had to kick it.
All right. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're talking about there. Okay. Inside of those blocks, having that, we were talking about racing and doing it too often. So if you do that, you really set yourself up for injury. And pretty much all the decisions we make around here at Grn Mchn Multisports are based around making sure that you're staying fit, gaining fitness along the way, and most importantly, keeping yourself away from injury. Are they going to happen every now and then? Sure. But we try and make every decision to make sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to not get injured. And, that hibernation at the end of the year is an important part for that. And like Margaret's alluding to here, having that block at the end of, or having that race at the end of a training block can really help you have something to look forward to. That's, 3 or 4 weeks away from your last one instead of racing every single weekend. You hear those stories of people, they get nervous. They've got a marathon coming up, and the weekend before they go out and run 20 miles. Well, you probably just spent your race right there. So when the race comes around and you're cramping halfway through, or it didn't go as well as you wanted it to, that probably has a lot to do with it. So we like to have a really smart approach to how we set things up and go from there with it.
So like Margaret said, with having purpose for the blocks, hibernation can have its purpose as well and allows you to really start planning out a season. Sometimes when you're training, it's go, go, go. Things get pretty hectic. You don't really have time to do much of anything else. You're trying to balance training, work, life, and, planning out a season or a schedule and coming up with some ideas. Hibernation really gives you the time to step back. You're not having to focus on training. You can sit down, figure out, all right, here's a handful of races I want to try to attack, see how you can fit them into your schedule. So, one way to kind of mentally get through hibernation is knowing, hey, I get to put together a new schedule. These are the races I get to look forward to. And, I'm going to be able to put it together the best way possible and, have that time versus, kind of scrambling to throw something together when you're continuing to keep training or, going about with that busy life.
That's absolutely right. And having a coach to work with is really beneficial for that. We got another note from Circle Hooks here. He says, pick your battles for the year. That's actually one of our philosophies that we operate with is you can race often or you can race well. Very rarely can you do both. So if you really want to have some standout races, we keep a document that keeps track of all of our athletes and whether it's a personal best for them or not. And you would not believe the percentage of performances that turn out to be lifetime bests or race course bests. So, every race course is different. So if you run a 5K on a flat ground versus a hilly ground, obviously one's going to be faster than the other. So we keep track of not only was it their best ever, but best on that training course as well. And it's amazing some of the stuff that happens when you really pick your battles for the year, set up a really smart schedule that's spaced out well enough with enough time to get some good training in between, and then move forward into races throughout the year and really be rested and ready to go when those races pop up. Courtney says, taking that time off gives me a break and then makes me more motivated to get back up and get back into it, which is exactly right. Think about if you ran Boston on Monday and it went great for you, the first thing you're going to say is, well, my legs hurt. And then you're going to say, when can I do it again? I want to go faster. What I did in my training blocks worked. I want to do it again and take that next step. Or maybe I want to get into ultra marathoning, which that's a little nod at Clint there. That's kind of his forte. So you'll hear a little bit more about that next week as we talk to Clint. But as athletes, we get competitive. We want to do things better. You got to be smart though. And if you can't rein yourself in like that, you want to make sure that you're working with somebody that can see the forest from the trees and really step back and tell you what's right for you and put together a smart plan for you. And for everybody watching tonight, if you are interested, we are offering a special. And if you email us at grnmchnemultisports@gmail.com, mention this live stream, you'll get 25% off your first month of coaching services. And if you're interested in reading about our packages, we've got some links down the description box down below where you can check those out. But let's see, has anybody been racing at all? Have you raced this past weekend or recently at all? If so, tell us about it in the chat. I know there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. So we'll check in with those as we go. What do you say, Rob? What do you think we do? A giveaway here?
Yeah, I think a giveaway is a good idea right now.
I think a giveaway is a great idea. We've got some Grn Mchn Multisports stickers going out. We'll send these out to anybody in the United States. All you have to do is type in the chat bar what you see right here, exactly as you see it. Giddy up. It's got to be case sensitive, I believe. You need the exclamation point, and there's no space between the giddy and the up. So as you enter in on those, it'll keep track of it. And we'll run a randomizer there so you can win yourself a Grn Mchn Multisports sticker for following along with us tonight. All kinds of good stuff that you can get yourself into. Stickers, discounts, doing it up. So just like you see in the chat bar, we got a couple people entered already. Do that same exact thing. There's one of our athletes, Marissa. She's going to be somebody we bring on and talk about at some point. Margaret as well. So lots of good stuff coming on. Let's see. Margaret's saying, I did a virtual 5K for my college's homecoming a few weeks ago. Really slow, but the first race that I've done in about 5 months. So Margaret sounds like she's pretty motivated over there to get up and get going. Hey, there's my sister. Giddy up, getting herself a sticker. We got people from all over the country hanging out with us here tonight. And let's see, if you are fortunate enough to win, there are the instructions. Well, we're going to let that go for a little bit. We do have that condition turned on where you have to be a member for 5 minutes before you can chat on the channel. So we're going to go ahead and let that run, and it'll be running in the background. So just keep typing #GiddyUp. You only have to do it once, but that'll give people time to get in there and get it done. If you happen to win, email us, let us know your name, mailing address, and what you won, which is a sticker, and we'll get that on the way to you there. Hey, here's Megan. She says, I was talking to somebody recently who's interested in 70.3. My biggest piece of advice is to get a knowledgeable coach to get you on the start and finish line prepared and healthy. That's right. So many people start this journey and they have maybe a plan of what they're doing, or they're making it up as they go, and then they don't really reach that finish line. So Megan brings up a great point right there. We want to make sure we get you to that finish line. Megan went from not doing triathlon whatsoever to completing an Ironman in 1 calendar year. So she knows all about that, and she worked with us to get that done. We got Melissa Spencer saying #GiddyUp, looking for that sticker. That's right. My sister says, no races recently, but wouldn't mind a virtual 5K for a good cause. That's right. We've got all kinds of training plans we can put together. We do custom training plans around here, and we can write something up for just about anything that you're interested in, because everybody's situation is a little bit different, and it is what it is. We do what people need. Well, we appreciate that, Megan. Did a great job out there. She did Ironman Lake Placid, which is no easy course. That's right.
So I think with some more people joining us in chat now, maybe we get back to the topic of how do you prepare for an off season, and kind of maybe get out there. You know, what do people in chat like to do in their off season? You know, what do you like to get back to doing that you couldn't do because you were busy training throughout the year?
Yes, that kind of touches on what Margaret was saying. She's catching up on some Netflix. So what do you do? What do you miss out on when you're busy in your training schedules? And what do you like to make sure that you reconnect with after the season's over? Because really,
tell you a few years ago, Dan and I had finished up the Richmond half marathon. And I think the first thing we did to kick off hibernation was eat 200 pizza rolls in a day. That was a good time after, you know, not restricting, but, you know, really focusing on diet, making sure you're eating healthy, and, you know, indulging a little bit. That probably was to the extreme, but it's one of those things that's like, hey, missed out on these for a while. Let's go.
That's right. That might be the swimmer mentality inside of us, eating that junk food. And, you know, we did a half marathon together, and we were both looking to PR, and we got it done. And we made sure we celebrated after. And that was seemed like a good idea at the time, but that was a lot of pizza rolls.
Yep.
I think I put Rob asleep on the couch at about 8 o'clock at night, all the way through the next morning. Definitely a non-runner. We were coached through the first 5K forever ago. It helped me to exceed my expectations. Excellent. Here we go. Courtney says, eating junk food and spending time with friends. That's right. There's so many times that you sacrifice meeting up with friends to go to brunch or to go apple picking or whatever it may be. And it's really important to reconnect with that. Here's Margaret. I think off season is being intentional about connecting with friends and just providing that self-care for yourself. Yeah. And that's so many people, they finish their race and they're excited. They want to get going to the next season and they just start training again because that's all they know. And it's really hard when we first start working with people to get them to take that 3 to 5 weeks off. And when we say off, we mean like your bike should be collecting dust. You should not go to the pool. You should not go out for a run. Do some other stuff. Here's Marissa crying a little bit. Yeah, but it won't be long that 3 to 5 weeks goes by and then you're hungrier than ever to get back out there and start training again. And then you just perform better. You're recharged, you're refocused, you're rejuvenated, you're all kinds of stuff, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, hibernation is definitely also a good time, get the bike in the shop because, throughout the year, it's tough to get tune-ups done. If you're getting it done by a professional, and this gives you time to, get your equipment in order and not have to worry about, well, all right, I got to get my bike in the shop, but, I have a ride coming up. So time to kind of finish up those things that, need to get done to keep on top of training, but you can't really get done, without sacrificing training.
That's right. Clint from Circle Hook Production says, go fishing. That's right. And he's one of my fishing buddies. So I went fishing one hibernation and never stopped. Here I am. Marissa's, let's see. Nope, I missed it. There we go. Marissa says, this off season is so long for me. I bought a dog. That's not a bad way to do it. Now you got yourself a new running buddy. I love trail running with my dogs. Buying a dog is the best off season plan. That's right. It's actually a great time for that because you've got more time to spend with that dog, get it ready, train it up, house train it, everything like that. So Marissa's pictures of her dog are super cute. That thing is awesome looking. Yeah, and just making sure that you reconnect everything is super important. A lot of people have a really big support network that works with them. They're out training. They might have somebody cooking meals or doing laundry in the background. It's really important to reconnect with all that and show some appreciation back. Okay, what do you say we run this giveaway here? We've got 5 people in it. When we hit this draw button, it's going to randomly select somebody from the list, and we'll get that sticker out to you. Here are the instructions in case you are the winner. Let's see, where are they? Here we go. Let's do it. Good luck, everybody. There we go. Carol's our winner. I didn't even see a sneak in chat there. That's good. Welcome to the show and congratulations. Make sure that you shoot us an email at grnmchnmultisports@gmail.com with your name, mailing address, and let us know you want a sticker. We'll get that on the way to you. Great job. Congratulations. Then you can spend your off season putting stickers on everything. Hold on, here's a good comment I wanted to address here. Focusing on weight and strength training is something I neglected and probably would have been good in the off season. Yeah, so that's kind of where, depending on your definition of off season versus base training, those things might be a little bit different from system to system or coaching group to coaching group. So we would actually consider that part of the base phase. So more traditional strength training in the gym, lifting weights, things like that. A lot of people, they finish their race. They said, I did a triathlon. My swimming wasn't great. I'm going to start hitting the pool hard every single day all winter. And that's great to do in your base phase, and definitely work with your coach to get that sorted out during your base phase, from what we call a base phase.
Yeah, for us with the base phase, weightlifting is the perfect time to throw that in because you're not doing any intense activities. It's mostly just going out there, getting your legs refamiliar with the bike and the run, getting refamiliar, being in the water. There's less of a chance of injury when you're, throwing in some weight training there when you're not going out and doing an intense activity. Also, it's you throw in weight training, your body's not going to be able to handle as much. You're going to need a little bit more time to recover with that. And so by keeping the activities outside of weight training a little bit lighter, it's going to keep you healthier, allow you to really focus on that strength gains.
Yep. And that all just comes back to definition. So remember, the hibernation, which is what we're talking about tonight, is something we definitely recommend that you try if you haven't tried it before. Take that time off, reconnect with everything, get everything taken care of, finish those house projects, hang out with your friends, forget you're an athlete for a little bit, and before you know it, you're back into the base phase, you're training again. Those goals are not far behind you. You can get back working on all that good stuff. So that's kind of what we're talking about here tonight. And then, yeah, here's that hierarchy again, that season periodization. Then one thing that we really like to do with our athletes while they're hibernating is plan out the next year's plan. Figure out what are the big races? How are they going to space out? Do they make sense in the order that they're in? Do we need to rearrange some things or make some hard decisions based on which race actually matters and which one we should probably wait for another year to do? And then that's really what determines the season plan from there for the next year. So, and that's definitely something we can do another show on if people are interested in that. Speaking of which, if there are topics that are burning in your brain and you want us to talk about them, just let us know. What topics would you like us to cover in future shows? Like we said earlier, we're going to be doing topics like this where we sit down and talk about things that triathletes potentially want to hear about, runners, cyclists, swimmers, whoever. And sometimes we'll do interviews, sometimes we'll do other things. So we'll mix it up around here, keep things interesting. So let us know if there's something that you want us to cover, and we'll definitely put something together for you there. Rob, you said you had an interesting article you wanted to share with us, right? Or at least the cliff notes from it.
Yeah, so kind of I've talked about hibernation in me and how it was like a mindset, but I noticed I came out of it stronger. I think it was in 2017, familiar name. So, we're sitting here talking about hibernation as, age group athletes, but even the pros do this. Daniela Reef, probably big name, everybody knows her in the triathlon world, took, I believe it was 3 months off in 2017 and came back in 2018 and doubled up and won both 70.3 Worlds and Ironman Kona. So even the pros are doing this. They're taking time off. They realize that, this time away from training while you're going to lose some fitness is going to be beneficial in the long run, especially if you're a long-term athlete. It kind of falls into, how Dan explained that we do 4-week blocks of this. You can call it a microcycle where it's 3 weeks of build, 1 week of recovery. If you look at the big picture, you're training 4 or 5 years in a row. You want to have those down periods so you can see those improvements. I think Daniela Reef is currently taking a break from training as well after, she had a little bit of a disappointing, I think 70.3 Worlds at St. George this year. And I know she's been posting on her Instagram that she's just taking time to actually have, I think, a holiday. And after 11 years, this is her first big break where she's just taking time to do some other stuff and find herself. But knowing her, she's going to come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, and being that championship kind of competitive athlete, not only does she have to race the best of her life to beat world-class fields in Kona, which is Ironman World Championships, and 70.3 championships, which she's won over and over and over and over again. She's one of the winningest athletes in history at those events, but she's got to qualify for them. So she's got to do other races along the way and meet those benchmarks. So yes, she does have the advantage of being so dominant that she doesn't necessarily have to be in peak shape to qualify for those events, but it is what it is. And most people aren't trying to do that. They're not out there trying to race 5 Ironman races in a year to qualify for world championships. Most of the people that we're working with, they just got to have one good race to qualify. So that's what we're talking about there. There's that article.
I think taking breaks like this also help prevent burnout, because all too many times you see athletes that just go hard all the time and, they have either, a mental burnout or physical burnout where they injure themselves, or it becomes such a drag that they instead of enjoying the sport, it becomes a job, or, they aren't enjoying it anymore. And this time period of, taking a break allows you to kind of reset mentally and both avoid, injuries and that mental burnout that can happen from just going hard all the time.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Margaret says the importance of nutrition both in and out of training. And Margaret might be a great guest to bring up. We also have another Buffalo area native who is big into the nutrition world as well. So maybe we can bring both these athletes up on panel and have a good chat about that. I know nutrition is definitely top of the list for probably one of the most neglected things that can have one of the biggest impacts on your racing. So that's definitely a topic we can talk about at some point. Here's another one. During training, what are ways to recover and stay healthy / injury free? Yeah, absolutely. Those are definitely things we can get another show going and talk about for sure. But yeah, that's just when I saw that article come out after trying to convince people to take 3 to 5 weeks off, and Daniela Reef came out and said she's taken 3 months off. I was like, yes, that's going to help so much.
Yep.
Try and convince people that it's the right thing to do. I've got some great athlete friends that I train with around here, and some of them have never taken time off, and they're already top of the class athletes. They could just be even better if they took some of that time off. Megan says gear, where to splurge, what to skip, etc. That's right. Triathlon can be overrun with different things you want to buy. I think we have an ad
Just
for
buy
something
it
right
all.
up here.
You need it all.
We've got an ad right on this page, which we are not supporting in this ad. It just so happens to be attached to the article here. But there's an ad for something to buy. Do you need it? Do you not? Who knows? There's a lot of stuff out there. We can certainly talk about that at some point. Then Clint even agrees. That's a great topic. That gives me an idea. I'll talk to you about backstage, Rob. Something we can talk about as far as gear goes. We can have a great show on that.
All right.
Here we go. Marissa says, every year I want my hibernation to be a little bit longer, and every year I come back a little bit better. Definitely worth it. That's right. Marissa was already a fantastic athlete coming into our program, and she has just excelled. I'm not sure if she's ready to talk about it, but she qualified for Ironman World Championships way back in 2019 and has trained for it a couple years now and has not had the opportunity to race it yet. I'm only laughing because I'm uncomfortable, and I feel so bad for her, but she will get there one of these days. She qualified. She earned it. She will get her opportunity to race that world-class field, and we can't wait to watch it. Cool. Anything else to share with us tonight, Rob? I think I am pretty much wrapping things up here.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. But, get the word back out there. If you can share this on social media, subscribe, like, get the word out there. I think Dan put up our email address. If you have questions that pop up throughout the week, we're going to try to do this, on a regular basis, as long as we got some questions coming in, we can get interviewers on, but send those questions in. We can start, coming up with new topics to discuss weekly with you and keep this rolling forward.
That's right. And we've got a whole bunch of ways you can get in touch with us. We've got a Facebook page. We've got an Instagram page. We've got this YouTube channel. So lots of ways you can reach out to us, our website as well. So check that out. I think a lot of those things are linked up here potentially. I don't have those ready to share, but Grn Mchn Multisports, you'll find us on all those major platforms. We're easy to get in touch with. And of course, don't forget, if you are interested in getting your butt back in shape, you can always reach out to us, get 25% off of your first month of coaching services. If you mention the live stream, say you were hanging out with us, we'll be happy to hook you up with that. And we appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight, especially tuning in for our very first show. We'll be back with more, like Rob was saying, but I hope everybody has a great night. Hopefully you have a new perspective on your hibernation. And then when you get into your base phase, that you're ready to start working on some important things and making some progress for the next training year. All right. Well, we hope you have a great night, and make sure you subscribe. Yep. Subscribe, hit that notification bell so you do not miss out on our next video. And have a great night, everybody. Talk to you later.